This is the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. Watch films with us. Have you got any intro ideas, Gavin? Any banters that we can do?
No. I never do though. I just, get into it. Find out what you've been up to in the week. That's what gets me.
Well, no, that's the post-banter. There's pre-bants banter, then the introduction, then the post-pants banter.
Right.
Did you not read the script, Gavin?
Must have missed that.
Welcome to the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. I am Trevor Webb, and this week is the Gavster. Gavin Rye, thrill me.
Alright.
Thrill me.
Hello? Is that thrilling?
I'm not that thrilled yet.
Well, just wait. We're just getting started.
Okay. So, Gavin Rye, what have you been up to?
I went to Farm Foods near you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Got pizza.
Anything else happened exciting in Farm Foods?
Actually, my daughter lost her favourite toy, Peter Rabbit, that she's had since birth. Can't find him.
Oh no. Funny you should bring up food shopping. I was out doing some food shopping and I bumped into my high school sweetheart.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we both reached for the same box of hot fudge sundae Pop-Tarts at the same time. It was the last packet. We both said at the same time, we looked up and said, "Oh, you have them." So I took them, of course. And then at that point, we kind of clicked, realized who we were. And she just looked at me and just started crying and kind of hitting me and just shouting at me like, "Why did you kill him? Why did you kill Spanky?" So that happened to me.
All right.
Do you have a high school sweetheart story, Gavin?
No, not really. No girls liked me.
Did you like any ladies, girls?
Yeah, all of them. Actually, yeah, I got a good one.
Okay.
We had this thing, me and a friend of mine, who we were like, "Oh, let's have a thing. We're going to ask out as many girls as possible in a day." And so we just went around asking them all out. They're all saying no. I mean, it was obvious to them that what we were doing, because I was literally asking them when they're next to other people. Then there was a girl that I did really fancy, and I asked her, and she said yes. And then I just moved on and continued asking everybody else. And it wasn't till a long time afterwards I was like, "Well, when I asked her, she wasn't really around anybody else," and she just said yes. And I was like, "Okay," and walked off, and that was it. Nothing ever happened ever again. Never talked about it, never came up.
I mean, that seems to defeat the purpose of fancying somebody and then mustering up the courage to ask them out. If they say yes and then you ignore them.
Well, I was too into the game, weren't I? I was getting my numbers up.
Did you at least win the competition?
Can't remember.
I see. So this week, a guy called Gavin Rye chose a film. Now, I'm of the understanding that you know this cat.
Yep.
Tell us about him. And then, is he doing an introduction? What's he doing?
Well, he is me.
Hi.
I'm not going down that silly road that you might.
What do you mean?
Just leave that there. I am Gavin Rye, and I picked the film. I take responsibility for my own actions.
I don't know what you're implying, but crack on.
So yeah, what? The film this week is 1986's Night of the Creeps. Although you're probably going to put it up on the screen yourself, aren't you?
Might
do that?
I might do.
19...
Might come up right now. Might not. Don't know. That's future. You need to talk to future Trev. That's a totally different guy.
Right. This again. So, Night of the Creeps, 1986, directed by Fred Decker, starring Jason Lively, Steve Marshall, Jill Whifflow, and some dude called Tom Atkins.
He's quite awesome, isn't he?
Oh, we all knew Tom Atkins is awesome.
Yeah, but in this film especially, he's actually gone on record, I believe, saying this is his favourite role as well.
Yes, he has. I watched the hour-long documentary on the Blu-ray, and yes, he said that this is his favourite role, which is quite impressive because he's had some good roles. He's worked for some of the biggies, a few John Carpenter films. He's done The Fog and Escape from New York, Halloween 3 in there, Creepshow, one of my all-time favourite films, The Ninth Configuration. He's got a nice CV. Good old Tom Atkins. Everyone loves Tom Atkins.
I've said it already, but especially in this film, he was awesome. He stole every scene he was in.
Yep, he's the best bit by far. Thrill me. What a classic line.
What do you mean, thrill me? Is that from this film? Thrill me.
It is, yeah.
I'm doing it again, aren't I? Last week, I watched Keir's bit, and then I just kept saying it like it was my own idea. This week, I'm doing it with lines from the film.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I just thought I made that up. Thrill me. That's why I was confused when you... because on Facebook, I put thrill me with a Frill, and you corrected me. It's like... bitch, please. This is my saying. How do you know I'm not talking about the frilly kind?
I should also mention old Fred Decker. He's he had quite a little run in the 80s with this and Monster Squad. They were two of my favourites as a kid, especially Monster Squad. But then he went and made RoboCop 3, didn't he? And ruined it all.
You say the run, but he didn't have many films, did he? He literally, I think it was 3 feature films, I think he's directed.
Yeah, but when you direct Night of the Creeps and then Monster Squad, that's a good run. And then RoboCop 3.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen RoboCop 3, but...
in the extras even, he's talking about how great it is to be remembered for 2 films that are very well regarded, and then he says, RoboCop notwithstanding. I don't think he's a fan. I think there was a lot of studio interference with RoboCop 3. I don't think it's very his film.
Did he explain much as to why he didn't go on to do more?
No, I know he became a writer. He worked a lot with, or not a lot, but worked with Shane Black, who he was friends with from school, I think. He wrote the last Predator film with him. I think it isn't mentioned in the documentary, because the documentary is about Night of the Creeps, not him. But I think RoboCop 3 just did really badly, and everybody hated it, so kind of ruined him. And to be honest, Night of the Creeps and Monster Squad, despite both being great, they didn't do very well either.
No, I saw that. Well, I saw Night of the Creeps didn't do very well when it first came out. It's grown in popularity since. So why did you choose this as your film?
It was a favourite from my youth. I'd had the Blu-ray for a little while. Hadn't seen it since, back probably the 90s. So it's a good opportunity to give it another watch, see if it was as good as I remembered.
Was it?
It was. I had a great time with it. Very enjoyable. How about you? I was watching it the whole time thinking, ooh, what's Trevor going to think?
Were there any bits in particular that you didn't think I would like?
Oi, you! Do not watch this podcast if you have not already seen the film. It's a spoiler review. It contains spoilers. It's simple, really. If you want to come back when it's yours, that's up to you. But don't watch this podcast until you've seen the film. Alright. Cool. Cheers, mate.
Not off the top of my head, but I mean, you'd already messaged me with your weird issue that I don't know if you stopped watching after that, but seems to get answered within 20 minutes.
I mean, should we maybe tell people what the weird issue is rather than just referring to it as the weird issue?
Yes, I assumed that was what you would do from me saying that.
No. My issue, well, it wasn't even an issue, really. I was watching the film and I was just a bit confused, and I thought I was watching some kind of broken version with a missing bit in it. Because it just cuts suddenly. Like, we're talking about the scene where the first creep is awoken, is crawling up to the fraternity house. She opens the curtains. He comes up with a flower in his hand, and it just cuts. And the next thing we know is the police turning up and everything, and the corpse is laying there with his head smashed open.
That's not quite how it happened, is it? I mean, you said that he shows up with a flower and then it just cuts, but you see his head open. You see shots of slugs. Yes, you do.
Since you've told me that, I've watched it like 18 times, and nothing hints that these slugs are coming out of him.
Yep, there it is. Yep, I just watched it. His head starts to open, and the slugs. A shot of the slugs. I'm moving the camera across. I don't know if you can see it, but right there.
Wow, is that what you're talking about?
Well, you said it didn't.
Oh, fuck you and your face. That,
What?
you're talking about literally, like, you see a slight line go, like, for about half a second, not even that, open up.
So?
I watched that about 8 times and I didn't notice that.
Well, I watched it once and noticed it, and then you messaged me about it, and I was confused at what you even meant.
That was not enough.
Like, I got it.
I watched it, didn't understand what the fuck was happening. I mean, you'd seen the whole film already.
Yeah, 20 years before.
Yeah, but you knew what was happening. Watching this film completely fresh, I had no idea what was happening. It just cuts after seeing that, which I'll have put on a video by now. Future Trev will have done that. Now I've seen that there is actually a face opening. I think I hate it more, because before I just thought it was poor editing or a missing scene, but now it seems like it's an actual decision. Like, oh no, that'll be enough. People will understand that.
Well, I guess they didn't account for your kind of stupidity.
So, there are a few characters in this film. Did you notice anything about their names?
I did. They are all or often named after famous horror people.
Yes. Have you got them written down?
So we've got Chris Romero, George Romero. We've got J.C. Hooper, Toby Hooper. We've got Cynthia Cronenberg, David Cronenberg. We've got Detective Ray Cameron, James Cameron. We've got Detective Landis. That would be John Landis. And we've got Sergeant Raimi, which would be Sam Raimi, and also they stop off at Corman University, which would be Roger Corman.
I didn't get the university reference. There was one other one. JC Hooper, which you mentioned. You said Toby Hooper, which is obvious. But JC stands for James Carpenter, and the Carpenter part in that was John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, sure.
So,
Yes.
But yeah, this Fred Decker guy is clearly a horror fan, and that's quite clear, I felt, not just from this, but from the film in general.
That's quite ahead of its time, to be honest. I mean, every idiot does it now with referencing famous people in their characters, like Lloyd, after Lloyd Kaufman, maybe.
What film's that from?
Don't know. Just plucked the name out. Somebody probably done it. But yeah, back in 1986, there weren't a lot of people doing this, making self-referential stuff towards the horror genre. And like you say, yeah, he was a big horror fan. He was a little bit worried that this might be his only film that he ever got to make, so he kind of threw everything into it. He talks about how he liked aliens, so he put aliens in. He liked zombies, so stick some zombies in. He liked 50s sci-fi, so it's got the very 50s sci-fi feel to the whole thing, like 50s invasion films.
What did you think? You mentioned the aliens. What did you think of them? The opening scene where they're running around, those little things that look like E.T., all right, running around, naked ETs running around with guns.
I like that. That sets the mood nicely because there's a little bit of comedy in there. It's not taken fully serious, and I thought that set the mood very nicely. Great opening scene.
Yeah, I did like it. So in 1986, we meet Chris and JC. What did you think of these two chaps?
Yeah, good pair of characters. Great friendship between them. Good relationship. I like. It's quite interesting. When I was watching it, I was like, because JC's on crutches. I don't know if he's had an accident or if he has some permanent disability, and it's not massively a reason for that. But the actor talks about that in the making of, and I thought it was quite interesting. He talks about how he saw that as a good reason for why he kind of takes on Chris, and tries to, help him with the women and stuff. Because I guess he's kind of seeing himself as, he's disabled and maybe he hasn't got a chance with the women. So he puts all of his effort and lives vicariously through his friend.
He would have a much better chance than Chris. He's got the charisma, the confidence. He's a suave chap. Although I thought I picked up on some kind of interest between JC and Chris. Did you think he is maybe a little bit into him?
I hadn't thought of it. You've made me question their relationship.
Well, Exhibit A.
Face it, JC, we're dorks. We're lamewoids. My grandparents have sex more than we do.
Well, granted. But you talk like that's a negative thing.
Good point.
I found that a bit strange when I was first watching it. I was like, why is it a positive thing that your grandparents are having more sex?
They also have their little bit in where they've fallen out ever so slightly in the dorm room.
Exhibit B.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you want me?
Yeah, well, fuck you too. You'd try it.
You would let me.
You'd want me to.
You wish.
We done.
They had that little moment. And then Exhibit C, when Chris has become a creep, he leaves that voice message for him.
I love you. Good luck with Cynthia.
Did you see that as just a friendship thing? Like, I've always loved you as a friend?
I think so. I mean, if I knew I was about to die and I was leaving a message for a really good friend, not you, like a really good friend, I'd probably say, love you. Yeah. You know, like, oh, I had a good time with you while I was alive. Now I'm dead. Love you.
I think in today's world, yes. But back in 1986, that was a bit less common, wasn't it?
Well, there's something to think about. I think he likes Cynthia, to be honest.
JC.
No, Chris. You think it's just JC that fancies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then why is JC helping him so much?
That's what you do.
JC and Chris actually reminded me a little bit of me and you back in the
really?
very early days of going out.
Have you met Gavin?
Exactly, yeah. I got vibes of that.
What happened with me and you going out, Gavin?
Well, you would quite often walk up to a woman with me, say, "Have you met Gavin?" And then you would leave, leaving me with the woman. And I don't know if you've noticed it from this podcast, but I'm not very good at talking to people. And that would often end with me just walking away as well.
What would you say was the general success rate of that?
0%?
Not get one number from that.
No, I don't think I've got one number from a night out ever.
I mean, that's why I would help you out. I would try. I did my best.
I know, and all the time it was you who wanted me, it seems, from your judgment of this couple's relationship.
100%. And I've since had you many, many times. So it works. This strategy of helping you with girls gets you in, gets you close. And did you notice, Gavin, that you got rejected a lot? It's because I was always picking the girls that I knew would say no. I wanted your confidence just shattered bit by bit by bit so that I could work my way in.
What a plan. Playing the long game.
You've got to in life.
Who did you think I meant when I was saying they reminded me of?
To me, I got vibes of Dante and Randall from Clerks with Chris and JC. Chris was very much Dante, the kind of moping around, kind of depressive guy who's hung up on girls. And then JC is clearly the Randall, the more confident joker of the two. He's he gives him some home truths. He has a monologue scene, which I loved.
Oh yeah, that was good. A speech about how he attempts to make his friend happy.
Every single day, I put up with your moaning about what's her name and how you wish you could fall in love again, but you're too chicken shit to do anything about it. And then this Cynthia girl comes along, Dream Girl 2001. And I say to myself, what the hell? I'm sure as hell never gonna get laid, so I might as well help out my best friend, right? And then you say, JC, help, we gotta join a fraternity so she'll give me the time of the day. And I say, what the hell? You gotta do it, you gotta do it. And what do? I bust my ass to help you, and you get chicken shit again. And I push, and I push, and I don't give up. And why? Why? You don't even know. You don't even care. Because it's important to me that you're happy. Is that so crazy? And if we gotta act like jerks and get in trouble in order to do that, then what the hell? I mean, it's better than acting like jerks for no reason, right? So yeah, everything is a joke. It's hilarious because if you take it seriously, you just get depressed all the time, like you are. So fuck you.
That was a good speech.
It was. It reminded me a lot of Randall.
Chris fancies Cynthia, you should say, and it turns out Cynthia's going out with the head of the Betas.
Hey, babe. It's the Bradster.
And they attempt to join the Betas, which is, that'll come up in a bit. But there's a bit where Cynthia comes around and asks Chris to go for a walk, and then cut to the next scene and JC's with him as well. I was a bit like, oh, it's a bit weird. But then I guess you find out why, because it's not just a romantic walk. She's telling him about what she's just witnessed.
Yeah, and as soon as JC gets the hint that there is a little bit of a thing going on, he makes his excuses and faffs off.
goes for a poo.
He does. And I loved this. I like watching films from back in the day when people say, I'll be right back, and then they don't come back.
I'll be right back, okay?
I mean, how do you feel about cliches in horror films?
It was tough back then. I mean, when did that eventually become a cliche? Is it a cliche in this film when it came out?
At its time, no, it probably wasn't a cliche. But I'm saying, how do you feel about cliches being you living now? How do you feel about cliches
What, in a film?
in general? In any film. If someone says, I'll be right back, do you want that person to die?
Yeah, don't care either way. I'd rather they didn't say, I'll be right back.
That's my point exactly. When looking into this and stuff and trying to form an opinion, because we've had discussions about cliches before. I'm very much of the opinion that cliches are simply cliches because they work. They're good. They most of the time anyway. There are some bad cliches, but saying "I'll be right back" and then dying, that's something I enjoy about a good slasher film. And the later films that have come out, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but films where people say "I'll be right back" and then they come back, that angers me. And I just feel those people, the directors, the writers, whatever, who write that in, they're trying to be clever. They're trying to go, oh, fuck you. We're trying to counter these cliches, man. Why don't you just not mention it? Don't say I'll be right back. If you don't want to have it in, just don't say it.
Sure. Guess so.
Okay, the mobile phone thing. We've had this discussion before. You've brought up the mobile phone thing, which is something you hate, isn't it? Do you want to tell us your mobile phone theory about if you ever made a film?
Yeah, I just think that if you literally never even mention mobile phones, I don't think people would ever really think about it, rather than having a scene of, oh, let's get my phone out. Oh no, I've got no signal. It's just not needed. I think if you don't even mention mobile phones, no one would care.
That's exactly how I feel about I'll be right back. Just don't mention it. Don't say it. Move on.
I'll be right back.
You have to actually leave now.
Oh, God. Oh, there we go.
See, now I hate this
I'm
podcast.
back.
Because you shouldn't have came back. I should have done the rest of this podcast alone.
So can't people say I'll be right back in like a drama? Like in Downton Abbey, can't Mr. Darcy go, I'll be right back? And he goes off to get a cup of tea and he comes back.
Yeah, unless they're doing a Halloween special, in which case, no.
Okay. Were you surprised? I mean, even though that I'd seen it, I was quite surprised to see they kill off JC so quickly.
Well, am I surprised? No, but I am surprised that he didn't really come back as a zombie. I would have liked to see him return. He just kind of dies, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he's face down, but presumably his head's already smashed open. And the thing is, he took out his creeps. So, he sacrificed, well, not sacrificed himself because he was already gone, but he made sure the ones that came out of him died because he was in the boiler room, weren't he? And they'd all deaded.
Which I like, but I would have preferred to have seen him come back, I think.
Maybe, but it's fine. I don't know if I'd have liked to have seen those two fight in the Creeps along with Cynthia.
Yeah. Thing is, JC was a great character, but Ray Cameron was better, the detective. And they don't have much on-screen time together, do they? And you feel if they did, they would kind of clash a little bit. So do you feel they get rid of JC halfway through and then the detective comes in and takes over the show?
Yeah, I suppose. And you're right. He's, that's one of my favourite characters in 80s horror. Now confirmed. Always liked him. It was always the bit that I remembered most about this film. old Ray Cameron, and especially a line he has a little later on.
He's got loads of great dialogue, to be fair. But are you talking about the main tagline of the film?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to tell us what it is then? We can skip ahead.
The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Oh, I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Here's another good line earlier on about what is it? I haven't got it exactly, but corpses that have been dead for 29 years don't get up and go for a walk all by themselves. Cut to a corpse walking all by itself.
Corpses that have been dead for 27 years do not get up and go for a walk by themselves.
Which you have seen Monster Squad. Did you notice that that line is pretty much, and the cut to walking is pretty much in that scene, word by word, with the mummy.
Yeah.
They say mummies don't just get up and start walking, and then it cuts to the mummy walking through the street.
No, now you've said it, yeah.
The problem is, 2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves.
Another great line he has, which I thought you were actually going to bring up, is at the first crime scene. He's talking to, which I loved as well, actually. This first crime scene is a 2-3 minute scene, and it's all one shot of him coming in, investigating the body, pulling back, and delivers every line perfectly. And there's a brilliant line in here. He says to the cop, I was awoke. Fuck me. I'm just going to cut to it.
I was awakened out of a real pleasant dream to come down here. Are you going to straighten it out, Raimi, or am I going to play Poo Patrol with your nightstick?
I screwed up.
Is it the first crime scene as well where he stops and smells the rose?
I don't remember that.
I think it's the second one where he's going up to the house, and just before he goes in, he stops and sniffs a rose, and then right at the very end of the film, when the place blows up, it just focuses on a rose whilst the house is burning in the background.
That went well over my head. Didn't notice.
A scene I want to bring up before it gets lost, because it's got one of the great actors in it, where Raymond Cameron goes to the police armory to get a flamethrower.
What can I do you for?
Well, the thing is, Walter, what I need is... I need your basic flamethrower.
Flamethrower? Flamethrower?
Yeah?
Flamethrower? Jesus. What's the matter? The old snub nose ain't good enough for you anymore?
I know. Just break out the old heavy artillery, will you, Walt?
And the guy behind the thing is Dick Miller, who is in so many films that there's literally a documentary called That Guy, Dick Miller, because everybody's like, oh, there's that guy. Just to throw out some of his filmography. He might have the most impressive filmography of all time, but he's usually only in about 5 minutes. So he is in Terminator, Gremlins 2, Small Soldiers, The Burbs, Dirty Dozen, Twilight Zone the movie, The Howling, Chopping Mall, White Dog, Inner Space, Matinee, Piranha, Explorers, The Hole, Death Race 2000, and others. But how many has he got on here? It's over 200, I think.
Has he ever had a larger role in a film that you know of?
Yeah, he's got quite a big role in Gremlins, hasn't he? It's reasonably large. And I think some of his earlier stuff, the early Corman stuff, he starred in, like Bucket of Blood, and I feel like he was in the original Little Shop of Horrors. I might be wrong about that. No, I'm not wrong, yeah.
But yes, that scene was good. What did you think of the special effects throughout the film?
Yeah, pretty solid 80s effects. Some nice splitting heads. The creeps are decent. There's occasions you can see the wires, but I don't think they ever attested for it to coming out on Blu-ray, so can forgive that. The cat and the dog as well, I like.
Yes, definitely. I like them. It was the first half of the film I felt was quite low on the effects front. I definitely saved the majority of it for the second half. I made a note here that it's 44 minutes in. This is where we see the zombie cat. This seemed to be like the turning point. Everything up until then seemed to be off screen. The very first scene with the axe coming down, it cuts to black before anything happens. It would have been nice to get a practical effect in there, see something off the bat, like an opening scene, set the tone for the film. I would have liked some blood at least squirting up, but it just cuts to black. And then obviously the scene that I brought up earlier, which I had an issue with, where it just cuts, where you see like half a second of a head opening up and then nothing else. It would have been nice to have a bit more.
It's all right for me. I think that first half sets a mood quite well, rather than going for the effects. I think that's probably what he's going for. I mean, you're getting more of that 50s sci-fi that he's obviously into, which weren't known for their effects-heavy stuff. So I think he's going for that in the first half, and then more of its time 80s effects-driven stuff in the second half.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more character stuff in the first half as well. So I would have liked. I just think for the pacing purposes, it would have been nicer to have a bit more effects and stuff spread out throughout the film. But yeah, like obviously from that point on, you get the zombie cat, and then about an hour and 10 minutes into the film, you get the zombie dog, and then the bus crash, and everyone turning into creeps or zombies, and that is really where most of the effects budget went.
Yep, they're good. I like that some of them are worse off, like the one that you find down the alleyway is all decomposed, because that's the original axe murder, isn't it? Cameron is killed, and it smashes up through the floorboards of the old woman's house and axes her. Going back to the effects, actually, do you know who did the effects?
No.
2/3 of KNB, so there's Robert Kurtzman and Howard Berger.
Okay.
They're in the film as zombies from out the bus.
So yeah, these zombie frat boys, they want brains, don't they? So they go to this fraternity house, which we should mention, I suppose. One of the fraternity girls, they're keeping some brains, aren't they, in jars in the basement?
To ask you if I could store these in the house till Monday. Is that okay?
What are they?
Well, they're kind of brains for our bio class.
Wouldn't they just keep them in school or college?
Probably.
It's a small gripe. I don't care about that. But yeah, the it's attracting all these zombies, and they go into his house. And Ray and Chris are there. They've got their flamethrower. They've just saved Cynthia.
Yeah, from the Bradster.
Hey, babe. It's the Bradster.
I quite like this scene, yeah, because she's chatting to him. She doesn't realise he's turned, and she's basically breaking up with him as he's a zombie.
Why did Chris give Cynthia the flamethrower?
Because that was the easier way to kill them. It's heat that kills them, so he gives her the easier one.
It seemed a bit strange to me. He gives her the flamethrower. She's still in shock. Her ex-boyfriend's just been killed in front of her. She's not really with it at first. And Chris is like shouting at her, like, burn them, burn them. I don't know what he's saying. He's saying something along those lines.
Shit. Oh, shit. Cynthia, look. Look, you squeeze this thing to fire, okay? Jesus, Cynthia! Try and fire it! Do something, damn it!
Wouldn't it have been easier if he just kept the flamethrower and did the attacking himself?
I guess maybe he's still feeling a bit of the shock of it all, and he's not thinking. He's just, give the woman the best weapon. She soon comes around.
Yeah, once she does come around, I liked her. I like a strong female role in a film, kicking ass, killing zombies and things. I quite liked the character in Wreck Genesis, the bride. It's like killing zombies with a chainsaw. Quite liked her. It's quite nice to see quite a strong female role in a film from 1986. And then we get a few zombie deaths, which I was a little bit disappointed with them. They're fine. They look all right, but there's not much variety. Literally, shoot them in the head, burn them. Shoot them in the head, burn them. That's it.
That's what you got to do, though. There's no... I guess you could smash a head, maybe, but then the creeps are still going to need burning. You get a lawnmower, a pretty brain-dead lawnmower.
Later, dude.
Yes. This blew my mind and it upset me a little bit. What the fuck, Gavin? I was under the impression this was a brain dead thing.
Oh, you thought brain dead did it? Yeah.
Yeah, did Peter Jackson steal the lawnmower?
It's quite possible. I haven't specifically seen him say he's a fan of this film, but I know he's a fan of this kind of film, so no doubt he'd have seen it.
That upsets me. To my core.
It's a shame. I thought you might have an issue at that. I'm not fully on board with it, to be honest, but there's a shot where he puts the lawnmower on the guy's head and it's like a comic blood on there. It's not CGI. It's I mean, I get the impression that it's done for a stylistic reason. The whole film's got a kind of comic-y, like EC comic book feel to it, but just to have one bit is a bit strange.
No, didn't really notice it, I don't think.
That whole scene where they go into the tiny little shed, it's quite amusing.
Fun fact for you, Gavin, that was shot as pickup shots because they did test screenings and they said there wasn't enough action-y sequences.
That they did.
So we get the final scene and Ray finds all the creeps in the basement going after the brains and he blows them up, don't he?
That he does.
It goes kaboom! That's kind of how it ends.
It is.
Well, kind of ends there. Ray then walks out, so somehow he survives the explosion. Then he falls down, head explodes, and some creeps come out. So they didn't all die. And then that's when the aliens come and pick up the creeps.
Should say the original theatrical ending has so everybody's watching the house burn and the zombie dog comes up to Cynthia, who goes down, gives him a stroke, and the very final shot before the credits is a creep shooting out of the dog's mouth and into Cynthia.
Really? Ooh.
Yes. Apparently, audience felt it quite cheated after this whole big fight of everybody, trying to win, the good guys winning, and then Cynthia getting taken over. People apparently saw it as not a proper ending and didn't like it very much. And I don't think Fred Decker ever really wanted that ending either. Hence, the director's cut having the aliens.
Don't love it. Don't hate it. I think killing off a main character is fine. I don't know. I think the end that they had was fine. I liked it, how it was.
Another interesting fact, did you know the very first thing Fred Decker thought, because he wrote it as well, thought of the film was the line, "Thrill me."
Thrill me.
It's a great line. I mean, yeah. He says it quite a few times throughout the film.
Yeah. Is that how you're going to answer your phone from now on?
Filmy. Maybe. But I'll be spelling it phonetically with a F.
Okay.
So, Gavin Rye, every week we have a man called Keir Mills. He has his own channel. She gave me a pen. Link down below. He does a segment, doesn't he, every week about the film we're watching. And this week he's done us one. Last week, do you remember you watched it before we did the podcast? And then basically all the way through the podcast, you were just saying all this stuff that Keir had said. And I think in your defense, I'm going to defend you here for a second, Gavin. I think you genuinely had forgotten that it was him who had said it. I don't think you were purposely ripping him off, but it did come across a little bit like you were ripping him off.
Not quite how I remember things happening, but if you want.
Yeah. But, I mean, so this week, I've purposely not sent it to you because you can't be trusted. So we haven't seen it yet. I kept myself from watching it as well, just in case it happened to me. It probably wouldn't happen to me. I'm a professional. But we haven't seen it yet. We're going to go to it right now. So, Gavin Rye, give a cheer for Keir.
I've decided I don't want to cheer anymore.
Why?
It's not what I'm about, really. I'm not a cheery type. I don't cheer at gigs.
Could you at least give him an applause?
Yes.
Now I'm picturing you at a gig, just standing at the front row. They're like some metal band. They're like, yeah, rock on, man. And you're just there going.
I wouldn't be at the front for a metal band.
To Keir.
Night of the Creeps. So, I'm going to admit it, this 80s cult classic completely passed me by. This was the first time that I saw it. And for somebody that has seen Monster Squad and Hell Comes to Frogtown about 50 times each, this baffles me before then concerning me. My branch of blockbusters must have been severely understocked. The film opens in space, with a chase through a spaceship involving 3 aliens, who can best be described as looking like evil fetus penises. It's a pretty solid cold open, which quickly lays the narrative for the main feature. Something from space comes to Earth, and that something is a bundle of not very good news for us mere Earthlings. Everyone got it? Okay, on with the show. We transfer the action to 1950s Earth as the credits begin to roll. Credits invoking the very finest fonts of Roger Corman by way of Creepshow. This movie is very nice to look at. The use of black and white to distinguish the era and the pretty hammy acting is a oft-used gimmick and one that is not wasted here. But matched with the dynamic colours of the text, it really is very pleasing to gaze upon. And as the movie jumps forward to the 1980s, the whole screen is packed full of this eye-popping vibrance, perfectly encapsulating the colour-clashing fashion hell of the time. Again, gorgeous to look at. And if you hadn't already guessed, you can swiftly tell that this movie isn't going to be muddied down by any attempts at winning awards in any category. This is pure cult fandom fodder from the off. I mean, there is no need for silly things like character development here. We've got a bunch of kids and we're going to set them up with the most base stereotypes that we can possibly scoop out the top of the barrel and slap a hefty amount on anyone that we deem important enough to give a line to. I'm already hooked. Speaking of the characters, there's a nice little directorial ditty here, as pretty much each of them is given the name of a renowned horror director. We have room for a Romero, a Carpenter Hooper actually, a Craven, a Raimi, a Cronenberg, and even a Landis. This is a movie that not only wears its influences on its sleeve, it has them tattooed on its torso. As Night of the Creeps continues, it basically takes a pugil stick and charges at every single B-movie cliche that it can think of, clotheslining each one in its reach. It's got a make-out point, It's got an axe murderer. It's got a jock who's a bit of a jerk. It's got a zombie apocalypse. It's got a sci-fi experiment in a cryogenics lab gone wrong. It's got exploding heads and unnecessary boob shots, where women actually turn towards the camera, but only after they've taken their top off. And all this before even looking at the actual lines in the script. And boy oh boy, is this movie jam-packed full of quotable tidbits. From the laughably absurd, "It's Miller time," to the actually, frankly humorous, "This is excellent," "Night of the Living Dead Cat." And you get more B-movie tropes thrown up here as well. You've got the old good news, bad news line. "Girls, the good news is your dates are here." "What's the bad news?" "They're dead." Stellar. And let's not even go into the penultimate line in the movie. Actually, let's definitely do that. "Detective, thrill me." Put that line in absolutely any other film and there's no avoiding the sexual connotation. And frankly, I refuse to remove it from here as well. If I had watched this movie in the 80s, it would be on my Stone Cold Classics list, alongside Gremlins, The Goonies and the aforementioned Monster Squad. But, unfortunately, I didn't. So, it isn't. I shall be ensuring, however, that any offspring that I may spawn will be forced to watch this repeatedly. I believe it will enrich their lives incredibly. I personally feel like a lesser human for not liking this movie as much as I clearly should. Speaking of Gremlins, there's a nice little cameo here for Dick Miller, and I feel any time that he appears, it should be noted. Jason Lively in the lead role continues the Lively family tradition of demonstrating that you need absolutely no acting talents whatsoever to have a marginally successful career. The rest of the cast are largely fine, with the standout performances coming from Tom Atkins as Ray Cameron and Steve Marshall as J.C. Hooper, who surprisingly went on to do very little after this role, something that I can only determine was his own choice, as, yeah, he is pretty excellent here. On the role of J.C. Hooper specifically, I must applaud the director Fred Decker for creating a character who requires crutches to walk and not mentioning it at all. We need more differently abled people in film, where their bodies don't define their character and their story arch is not limited to their abilities. This is sadly remarkably forward thinking for the 80s, so much so that we still rarely see it today. Overall, this is a bunch of bombastic fun. It's not horror, but there is a lot of gore. It's not comedy, but you will laugh. It's not a teen movie, but it does feature a lot of teens. And it's not a classic, but it is the friggin' definition of a cult classic. Movies like this are there to be fallen in love with. They are there for you to put on and quote along with. Somewhere out there will always be a bunch of kids sharing a remarkably large pizza and guzzling oversized cups of Coke, awkwardly flirting with each other, finding out who they are as people, and having their future opinions on the world intrinsically linked to this film. And darn it, I wish I had been one of them. Well, I guess I'll have to make do with Beetlejuice, or Puppet Master, or Child's Play, or The Lost Boys, or Christine, or Bad Taste, or Evil Dead, or Videodrome, or They Live, or Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2, or Children of the Corn, or Maniac Cop. Yeah, come to think of it, I'm pretty set. Laters.
So that was Keir Mills back again with another excellent segment. And I think it was clear from that he clearly loves Ray Cameron. Same as me. The Thrill Me line, it's a classic. And for once, I've said something that Keir has said, but I didn't steal it from him because I hadn't seen it until just then. So there.
Well, who doesn't like Ray Cameron?
Sure, there's some people. But those people are wrong.
That's right.
Final thoughts, Gavin, on Night of the Creeps. Go.
Night of the Creeps. Well, this one, as I said, loved it as a kid. One of the few that I never got back to from seeing it originally. I probably would have been early 90s, I suppose, I originally saw it. But holds up absolutely brilliantly. I like a film mostly that's set all in one night. So it's like one crazy night, one big adventure in a night. There's some fantastic characters. Obviously, Tom Atkins, Cameron, completely steals the show. He's fantastic. Great lines. Some good effects. Good story. Mixes, like I said, 50s sci-fi with more contemporary for 80s anyway, zombie films. And yeah, never lets up. Great pace, looks good, very well shot, and yeah, solid 8 out of 10 for me.
Fair enough, Gavin. I liked the film. I enjoyed it. Didn't enjoy it as much as you, I don't think. I felt the pacing was a little bit off. Takes a while to get to the gore, and then the gore doesn't last that long. It's quite repetitive stuff. It was good though. The characters are where this film really shines, especially JC and of Ray Cameron. Great characters, some great dialogue. The effects that we do see are very good. I enjoyed it. It was good, fun. Didn't love it, but I liked it. I have given it a 7 out of 10. So, 7 out of 10, halved, it's 3.5. Your rating of 8, halved, is 4. 4 and 3.5. 7.5 out of 10 is the overall rating, which, looking at that, puts it right alongside Circus of the Dead, also got 7.5 out of 10. A Ghost Waits also got 7.5 out of 10. And Soul also got 7.5 out of 10. So it is right along all of those.
Seems fair.
So that's that. Should we do next week's film?
Yeah, let's.
All right, just nice and quick. We've got a few new entries this week, some more people getting involved. Do you want to have a guess? We've got, I think, 25 entries, I think. A number between 1 and 25. Go.
14.
14. So you've said 4 and then 4. You like your 4s?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you should have stuck with 4, Gavin, because it was 4, which is Dark Waters, chosen by Keir Mills.
One I haven't seen.
So you went 4, and it wasn't 4. And then you went 4, and it wasn't 4 again. And then you didn't go 4, and it was 4. I swear, this does seem like I fake these. Anyone who knows me, I promise I don't fake these. And I don't break promises.
Yeah, I'm sure people are like, what a massive conspiracy this is. First 9/11, now this.
Yeah. So, Dark Waters. We'll discuss that next week. Do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye. See you next week.
Bye.
This is the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. Watch films with